This is the Holy Mountain Podcast, where we discuss what it means to find rest, regain perspective, and reconnect with the world around us. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Shane Oehler, and today, as a guest, I have my one and only brother, Ethan. How are we doing today, Ethan?
I'm doing good. I went to church this morning on this lovely Sunday. We've done a little small group, and then we had some brunch, so it was a solid day so far.
Nice. What was brunch today?
A little spot called Nosedive, and what I had shrimp and grits and biscuits and gravy.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I'm fully embracing the South.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe, so people probably know by now that I'm in Montana, but tell them about where you are and kind of, what life is like over there.
What life is like. It's been almost 5 years now since moving to South Carolina, just outside of Greenville, so in the upstate.
That's crazy.
And
5 years.
yeah, it's flown. It's actually crazy. Bought a house over here. That was kind of the goal.
Nice.
So accomplished that and just kind of making the most of it and seeing what's going to happen in the future. Not sure. There are roots being put down here, but at the same time, I'm kind of open to potentially whatever else may come along as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you ever think you're going to be in South Carolina? Like looking back?
No, not at all. Not at all. I visited, the reason kind of chose Greenville was it was very central to a lot of things.
Okay.
I visited Nashville 6 months or so before moving over here and realized the Southeast actually, had trees and wasn't completely flat. I think I just imagined the Midwest prairie.
Oh yeah.
And it was not that.
Just like corn.
Correct. So Greenville is very central, just to like Charleston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville. So worked out pretty smoothly. Got the transfer to the building at Costco within 24 hours. So it was kind of like, I guess, moving cross country.
Nice. Easy work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, again, so a little bit of like backstory even for us. So you are my older brother, like I said, and you are, 19 months older than me?
Yeah, 19. Yep, 19.
And so just one like school grade ahead. And so growing up, I think I used to joke like you were my guinea pig in some ways, because you would take a class and kind of talk about like, oh, don't take this class from this teacher, or you should definitely take these classes from this teacher. And so I always felt like I had that advantage because you were kind of trying things out for me to maybe like go through things a little bit smoother. But yeah, I always appreciated
I would say
that.
definitely teachers definitely knew us growing up. That was like, it was very known who we were.
Yeah. In a good way though, most of the time.
Yeah, correct. Not in trouble.
Yeah. I've joked that, sometimes my like little sibling, like younger sibling dynamic can play out almost like in school settings where I'm often talking a lot to people and not like getting in big trouble, but maybe getting in like the inconvenience trouble or like a little annoyance trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I'd be curious to start just like, what do you remember from our childhood? Just like being outdoors, what types of things do you remember us doing outside, and kind of like, what did that mean for you as a kid growing up?
Yeah. I feel like there wasn't really a time when we weren't outside, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think about family vacations over the summer. We were always doing camping stuff in the RV, which usually led to some sort of hiking or just like riding bikes.
Yep.
But then even like at home, like we were always outside playing, like made up baseball field in the front yard.
Yep.
Basketball with the friends, and we were riding scooters with friends, bikes. Like we were always outside doing something. So
yeah.
Part of that could have been just where we grew up. It was really easy for us to be outside and kind of a little secluded loop we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And the elementary school being close helped also. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do remember like a lot of us, or a lot of the time after school, it would just be like calling our friends or like meeting up in the neighborhood, biking to different places. And for some reason, this is a distinct memory I have too, where I've always been pretty bad at directions, but I know typically like I'll eventually know how to get somewhere. And so even like biking around to the different places, I remember like I would know the path that I would take, but I would have no idea like what streets we would be biking on. And I remember these ladies stopping and asking for directions. And I was like, oh yeah, you'll come to this stop sign and then just turn left. You'll come to another stop sign, turn left again. Then you'll go straight for a while. And then you'll find another stop sign, then take a right. And they're looking at me just like blank stares. Like, do you know the roads? I'm like, no, I don't.
No, yeah. You were more directions by landmarks, and I was directions by street signs.
Yeah, for sure. I even remember like I've talked about this too in different contexts of how much of like a planner you were. Where I remember on our different family trips, like you and mom would be planning out all of the different like stops that we would be taking, the sites that we would see. And I'm just like looking out the window. Like I kind of like don't care where we're going. I'm just going to see like what it looks like along the way. But yeah.
I mean, I would say that even plays out now. I want to make sure I eat good food when I go places. But even for you in the outdoors, I think you could always get back to the truck because you knew landmarks, and I'd be lost because I'm like, this all looks the exact same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's times like literally this last weekend. So I was out and it ended up snowing. I didn't expect it to snow. And I was trying to get up to this like high point for like a glassing vantage. And it was like this super thick area, like fallen trees. And I'm like just going over and under stuff. And there was like this closed road. And I was like, okay, like I can loop back to that road and start going. I hit the road, think I'm going like the direction I want to be going. And then I like find my own boot prints like almost immediately. And I was like, no way. Like, no way. I just literally went in a circle that fast and like had no idea. But then I like looked around and again, I was like, oh yeah, yep, I very much so did. So
I recognize this tree.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very thankful for things like Onyx and Go Hunt Maps to make sure I am not lost out there. Cause yeah, it could be bad if it wasn't, but yeah, anyways, like you were saying, outside a lot, doing a lot of different stuff. I remember even like in our backyard, you know, we would just like throw pine cones at each other and like run around and play different like made up games like that too. But yeah, we were definitely outside a lot. Yeah. What about like fishing stuff? Do you remember like fishing a lot when we were growing up? That was something I was just talking to Dad about too.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a lot of times where kind of no matter when we were on the boat, there was gonna be a line in the water at some point. And granted, when we were little, we weren't doing any sort of baiting or anything like that. It was just tied a rooster tail on and just were reeling just to reel because we were bored.
Right.
I'm sure you and Dad talked about we weren't much of catchers, but we were definitely trying to fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, obviously Dad is obsessed with boats. So I think any chance he could to get us on a boat and fishing was taken. And then I even think about like throughout high school, maybe in a little college, doing the backpacking trips with Clarence. And that was just another different way of us to get outdoors and explore different things and do it with our friends and just kind of enjoy time and fellowship together.
Yep. Yeah, that was like through the church that we grew up going to. They had that annual backpacking trip. And so that was definitely a highlight. Like I remember looking forward to that every year and just spending, a few days out in different like wilderness areas in Oregon or, in different, just more remote places. That was definitely a highlight. And I think like probably contributed to the comfort that I feel outside, like without fully like connecting those dots. It was like early exposure that never made it seem like too foreign or like too intimidating because we had done those like in pretty good, like safe environments. So that's good stuff. So yeah, I've talked about like on that last podcast I just did with Dad, talked about how I got into hunting in high school. and then how that was something that dad, did with me. So you didn't originally like go through hunter safety with us, but that was something like you decided to hunt a little bit later on. Do you remember like what that was like for you, or kind of like what motivated you to start hunting?
I think it honestly was to kind of find another activity for all of us to share together.
Yeah.
Whether or not that was a completely conscious decision or not, it definitely like was a contributing factor. And I think I saw like when you got your blacktail, your first one,
Mm-hmm.
just like the process and how excited you were of all that, and like
Yeah.
the reward of it also, I think was just like, I don't know, looked fulfilling in a sense. And then, because I even think of like, you did play football and stuff first also, and then got into it after. So I think it was kind of along the same cycle of
Mm.
just like, let's find some shared activities, whether or not it was that entire desire there,
Yeah.
but it definitely was a contributing factor, I think.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting. Like even you saying that, in some ways that's like the reverse of what we experienced in school, where I just said like
100%.
you were my guinea pig, but then there was almost these like recreational things that I was more so the guinea pig, because I feel like by nature, like you were always like the more cautious one, and I was the more
Mhm.
like not reckless, but like I was willing to just like,
Independent.
yeah,
Independent.
right. Yeah. Like jump out there and try something new. Didn't necessarily like have to have somebody with me or like somebody that I knew. And so I think I was able to do things that you're able to then observe and be like, oh, maybe that is cool. Like maybe I would enjoy that. So
Right.
yeah, that's an interesting insight that I didn't even think about. But do you remember how old you were when you started hunting?
Um, it wasn't till high school for sure. It had to been like junior year or something like that.
Okay.
Like it was late.
Yeah. Because if I started as a freshman, you would have been a
Hmm.
sophomore. I didn't kill my first blacktail until my sophomore year of high school. So
Yeah, because I remember sitting in the library when you sent the text, when you had gotten it, and that was definitely my junior year. So
yeah.
I don't know. It might not have been till late. I don't know, late senior year. I'm not sure.
Because did you take the hunter safety class?
No, I was just gonna say the only thing that I remember doing like gun wise early was with Randy Hyatt.
Yeah. So then you would have had to be 18, because in Oregon, like if you were over 18, you didn't have to do hunter safety. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, that actually must have been your senior year, if not later.
If not freshman year of college. Yeah,
Right.
right.
But yeah, I mean, I think even like what you just said with Randy. So again, Randy was a guy like at the church that we grew up going to as well, that was like a big mentor for both of us, not only just like as
Hmm.
a man, but um, like somebody who was like super outdoorsy. And to me, that was always like an intrigue as well. Like, not that Randy was like mysterious, but it was like he seemed like more epic because of all these like outdoor adventures that he was doing. And so I think that was even a draw for me to get into hunting. But yeah, he had a cool property. So like we would have these youth group events like that the high school guys could go to, and we would just like shoot guns at his place. But he would always do like this gun safety thing. And so yeah, I think like you were saying, there was some pretty sound instruction, honestly, like from
Yeah.
Randy, and like good mentorship through that process as well. So he definitely was like an influential person in both of our lives. So that's cool.
Yeah, he definitely, I mean, nailed in the tools over toys mindset with us. And
Yeah.
so I think it was just, yeah, the respect for what it is and how to properly use it and not to play with it, basically.
Right. Yeah. That's sweet. So yeah, you started hunting, and I'm trying to remember if did you kill that doe your first year?
Yes. I was the first year at John's property and we didn't do anything.
Okay.
It might have been, yeah, first year was at John's property, second year was at Doug's.
Okay. Cause yeah, I remember like I feel like it was also like hunting was also something for you that you almost like weren't totally convinced of or like fully bought into, like until
Hmm.
you had some of those like successful experiences out there.
Oh yeah, I
And
was not one to go out by myself like you are. Not at all.
right, yeah. But yeah, which I think is like honestly for me, it's been another cool thing. Like to like I feel like the more that I got into it, the more I was able to like more intentionally take you out or even like take dad out too. Like dad wasn't going by
Hmm.
himself necessarily. And so yeah, it was something that I almost feel like I started playing like the guide, you know, for the family. And in some ways, like I still do. Like this has like naturally
Hmm.
been like a role that I've taken with like our friends and family. But yeah, maybe let's talk through like that hunt where you got that black-tailed doe out of Doug's property. Like what do you remember from that?
Um, I know it was evening, right? It wasn't morning.
I think it was the morning.
Oh, the evening before we had passed on a buck, I think, like a little fork.
Okay.
Um, if I remember, that was kind of a long season to be honest. I think it was the last day. It was my birthday. Was the last day we went out there.
Okay.
Um, so, and I don't think I remember walking through the cow field,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we walked on that trail though. We didn't sit in that where I actually killed the doe. We weren't sitting in that field right away.
Yeah.
We walked to that back trail, just kind of where the tree stand was, to try and see if something was over there. I don't believe there was anything much activity wise that we saw.
Yeah.
And then I remember it being like wet and kind of mushy, and we weren't super thrilled about that.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of started hiking back down the road back toward the cow field. Um, and then honestly, I feel like you stopped me if I remember right.
Yeah. I am like honestly having a hard time remembering like some of these details.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's been a long time. I mean, it's been a long time since I've gone hunting in general. So,
Yeah.
um,
As I'm trying to find my, I know I like made a post about it. So I'm like rereading my story
mhm.
because almost how I remember it is I don't necessarily remember like walking to the tree stand right away. I thought
Mhm.
we did go to that like first big open fields. Like you said, we like crossed through the cow pasture, got to that big open field, and we had seen deer in that area like in the past. And
Yep.
I remember I had just watched like this meat eater video where I'm pretty sure like Steven Rennell was in Alaska and he does this little like fawn in distress call to try to like draw a doe in that's kind of like concerned for this fawn. And so I remember thinking like, hey, let's give that a go. And I feel like that's when I started like seeing some movement.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I think that just worked. And then we were trying to get up into a pretty good position. So I think that's when we more so pushed up like on top of that little hill.
Yep.
And then that's when you like laid down and went prone. And the doe was just kind of, I don't know if it was just standing there.
Yeah, she wasn't moving much. I remember she just kind of stood there. And honestly, I remember not being comfortable with any sort of body position in that scenario whatsoever. I didn't know if I
Yeah.
wanted to like have the stand up, the bipod out, put it on a backpack. I literally remember just being like, this is so uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And which is not the best feeling when
Right.
you're looking at an animal. Um, because yeah, I do remember when I finally did get set up, I was laid down and I think I had the bipod up, like the legs down, not
Yeah.
necessarily extended. Um, and I for sure flinched. I remember I flinched bad too.
Yeah.
Like, because that shot did not go anywhere I wanted it to go. Ended up being, yeah, a spine shot on her,
Yeah.
which dropped her, but kind of paralyzed her in a way. Not like,
Right.
and so I remember you went up with your bow
Yeah.
to like clean it up. And I just remember just kind of sitting there like, wow, I'm not proud about that shot, but
Yeah.
like I think we have a deer down.
Right. Yeah. I have this like distinct memory. So I did like reread the little story. So what was that, like we had kind of like spooked some deer into those like blackberry thickets. And
Hmm.
then I had done that like fawn in distress to see if they would come out. And then your doe came from the opposite like side of the field, kind of like heading down towards where those other deer were. And that's when I like
Right.
pointed that like, oh yeah, there she is. And I remember just thinking like you were taking forever to shoot. Like it was one of those where I had like so much anticipation, like waiting for the shot to go off. And I'm almost like flinching in anticipation. And then I'm just like looking back, like, oh my word, is he ever going to pull the trigger? And then, yeah, I remember, like you said, you shot and you could kind of like immediately see that like you had spined it, but it was
Hmm.
still kind of like crawling forward to the best of its ability. And I remember like looking at you and you kind of like looked at me wide eyed, like, what in the world do I do now? And so I remember like pointing to myself, like, oh, I'll go. And so then, yeah, like finished her off with my bow. And so again, I think like that was one of those pieces too. Like, I know that's not an ideal way to kind of like have your first harvest, like your,
Right.
first year experience to be a shot that you're like not feeling the best about and to kind of like see something like that. And so again, like I didn't want you to have to try to take a follow-up shot, but like I wanted to be able to help you
Hmm.
just kind of like finish her off. But again, I think it was like one of those where, I mean, I was super pumped, like super proud of you in that moment. And I think again, just like proud of us that we were able to do it, by ourselves
Yeah.
and make something happen. And then I also remember because I had like a late season archery tag that had
Hmm.
like reopened or something. So which is why I had my bow. And I remember I'd taken my release off and like put my bow down and then like walked over to where the doe was to kind of like help like gut it. And then
Hmm.
I remember like the group of deer that we had spooked into the thicket like walked right up to us. And I just
Oh
remember
yeah, I
thinking
remember that
like,
too now.
oh, if I would have had my release on and if I would have kept my bow right here, like I easily could have shot one of those deer. And I remember just feeling like that was a missed opportunity that would have been awesome to just like double up on deer on that morning. But
Yeah, yeah, I just remember. I think it was last day of the season, so I think it was like one of those things where I felt a little bit of pressure on it.
mm-hmm.
Um, then when that doe came out, I just remember after I'd taken the shot and everything, like just that overwhelming sense of emotion because it was like
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just something obviously we had never, or I had never done before.
Yeah.
But I think I was like obviously very glad to have done that with you,
Yeah.
and just kind of share that experience, um, because of the hard work. I mean, it was very early hard work, but you had done a lot of work to get comfortable. I mean, harvesting a deer, gutting a deer, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I think that's even paid dividends now
For sure.
with how you're doing research for elk and other things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always been something I've been very impressed with and proud of.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I think like that, again, to me, there is so much like information out there that just because like dad didn't grow up hunting and like that wasn't something that we just kind of like
Mhm.
inherently knew and understood, like to me, that's almost like not been an excuse from like, there's so much out there that like I've kind of talked about different guys like throughout the hunting industry that have kind of like mentored me in ways that they probably don't even know about, but just because I've like consumed so much of their content and like listened to podcasts, read different articles, I'm reading like scholarly articles, like all this stuff, just like really deep dive and try to understand stuff. um and yeah, there's an aspect of it that I definitely love. Like I just love learning and it seems like never ending. So that's
Mhm.
always been engaging to me. But so that was your first deer, was that doe. Do you remember like your first buck? Because I think to me, that was when things like switched for you, where you're like, okay, like hunting is actually cool. Like that was fun. Cause I would say even after the doe, you were still kind of like, eh, like take it or
Yeah.
leave it. Like I'm not sure that's something that I would do all the time. But I feel like when you killed your buck, it was a different experience for you. So what do you remember from that day?
No, yeah, I agree. I remember again, we didn't have a lot of opportunity, I don't think, early season from what I
Mm-hmm.
remember. Um, but we did. I remember driving into Camp Tepawingo with you and Becca because we knew we had a weekend we wanted to go hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had taken the rifles to really sight them in well.
Oh
So I
yeah.
knew I was confident with that. Yeah, I knew I was confident with that. I think that was right after you guys got married.
Yep.
So you had the Benelli.
Yep.
So like we got to shoot that, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was just I think going into that day that ended up killing the buck. I was very confident with the rifle. I knew exactly what I was like, where I was aiming with it and everything like that. Like I knew exactly what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So again, same cow pasture walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was early. It was I think it was like 6:30, well, early-ish, because I think sunrise was a little pushed. Because I remember getting to the tree stand area about 7-ish,
Mm-hmm.
6:45, 7-ish. And then I was atop the tree stand sitting there, and you
Yep.
were sitting at the bottom of the tree.
Yep.
And um, I think it was only like 7:15 or 7:30
Yeah.
when the Bucks walked out. And I was tired. I remember like almost falling asleep in the tree stand. But then hearing something like brush or break or something, and two bucks come out on the little deer trail there.
Yep.
And I remember the back one was a little bit bigger. So I was like, all right, like I'm taking the back one,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it wasn't quite a fork. It was bigger than a fork, but he wasn't quite a 3 point at all.
Yeah.
And so I remember pulling the rifle up to my face and then turn the safety off, which I remember you saying you heard the click.
Yeah.
And then um I sight in where I want to take the shot. I don't think we made any noise to get him to stop. I think they just kind of naturally stopped, kind of
Yeah.
broadside. Um, and then slowly pulling the trigger, and nothing happened. There was a big click, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Oh,
So I slowly pull the bolt back, realize I never chambered anything.
yeah.
I have to slowly load in around, bolt it in, all the while trying to do it slow and quiet so the bucks don't run off.
Yep. I
And
forgot
then
about that.
yeah, and then finally get it in, put the sight back up, and then yeah, get it right behind the shoulder, pull the trigger slow. I remember like taking my time, taking my breath because I didn't want to what happened last year with the doe
Mm-hmm.
to happen again. And again, because I was so confident with the rifle right now, because we just sighted it, I was like, just breathe, let out a little bit, and then pull.
Yep.
Um, and then yeah, he didn't even go, I think, 10 yards
Right.
and he dropped. And so yeah, I think I don't remember how long we sat, to be honest, in the tree stand.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you yelled up at me or said something, but I think you did. Um, I don't remember what you said though, but I just remember kind of like shaking a bit because I was like, that really just happened within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that was insane. Um, so yeah, then climb down. We kind of like give him a little bit, but at the same time, we know he's dead. Like
Right.
it happened right in front of us.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I remember just kind of walking up again, taking my time. I'm really big, and I think you maybe told me this with the doe, is like making sure you're the first one to touch the animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I don't remember if you told me that you do a little prayer or if like that was
Yeah.
something I just remember kind of like being very grateful and thankful,
Yep.
like to harvest, and then like because there is a huge matter of respect with harvesting animals too.
Yep.
Like it's not some big game showman thing. Like I don't. That's no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, like, there definitely is like a time, like, there is respect there. There is
Yep.
like, because we definitely are big on like eating all that we can from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's using the parts. Like even when we skin the animal and take the hide, like there was that local glove shop.
Yep.
And so it was like even using everything we possibly could from this animal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I mean, to me, that's the way it should be done. Like,
Right.
and that's so a lot of that I think does go to your, I would say, influence as well in that
Mm.
and just kind of teaching. But I just remember being like overly stoked, like once I got to that buck.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So I remember from my end, I'm pretty sure again, this was your first day out hunting this year.
yeah,
And so yeah, like walking into the field again, kind of like checking some of those spots where we know we had already seen deer. But then ultimately getting to the tree stand, and yeah, like you said, you're up top, I'm down below, and I'm pretty much like surrounded by like blackberry bushes again and just like tall brush. So I really can't see anything. Like I'm kind of just like there for moral support at that point because I can see about like 2 yards in front of me. But the brush was like so tall that there was just like nothing that I could tangibly see or like be helpful with. I think I could kind of like glass one of his like far fields off to the right, but that was about it. So I'm sitting there. I don't even think it had been 30 minutes. And then I hear a click. And in my mind, I'm like running through all of the possibilities of like what could have made that sound. And I'm like, that might have been Ethan flipping his safety off. And then I hear another click, which was like you said, like when you pull the trigger, but there's no round chambered. So I was like, what in the world was that? And then I hear you like chamber the round. And so then in my mind, I'm like connecting the dots of like what must be happening, but I'm still so confused that I remember like I'm like fighting every urge to just like look up at you or just like stand up to see what's happening. And then I just hear like the boom. And I think I looked up, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Just because I was again like so floored, like first day out of this year. Like to me, it was Caleb's hunting experience, like all over again. Where, yeah, like first day out that he's hunting, the first morning, Buck walks up like right to him. And like, here you are again, like first day of this season hunting. Yeah, you had like a super busy schedule, so we didn't know like how much time you would be able to have hunting. And then, yeah, first 30 minutes, Buck walks right by you. And so I just remember, yeah, again, just being like stunned. And I think it was super fun for me to just see like your level of excitement, like for that deer, because I think the doe in some ways like was not like anticlimactic. Like I don't want to say that in a sense where you weren't appreciative, but I think again, it was just like not the way you wanted it to be.
right.
And so then here with the buck, like I'm with you, but essentially like it was all you, right? Like you were able to like shoot the buck, dropped pretty much instantly, clean shot. Like you felt good about all the steps. And then I do think, yeah, just to kill a buck, I think is special. So I remember just like how excited you were about that process and like you looking at me and you made some comment like, dude, like this was different. Like this was totally different than my first year.
Right.
Like this was actually fun. And this was like super cool. And so that was almost like the validation for me where I was like, oh, I knew it would hook you at some point. I just didn't know what it would take. And then that was finally like the experience to be like, okay, like, yeah, you just needed that like good experience with this buck to kind of show you like what it can be. But yeah, again, I think just like so pumped for you, like so proud of like that whole experience. But then in hindsight, I remember like when I hunted Mississippi that one year, I had the exact same situation happen where I'd been sitting in the stand, but I'd been sitting there like all day. Like it had been 12 hours, I think, being in this stand. And then a deer finally came in. I flicked my safety off, like squeezed the trigger, and then just like, And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like how I've
Hmm.
been sitting here for 12 hours and never chambered around. And
I
so,
think it caught me so off guard because I was used to as soon as we hopped out of the truck and walked in the cow pasture, I would chamber one there because I knew as soon as we got past the cow pasture, we could
yeah,
shoot.
right.
So I was like, I got into that habit of going to that property,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe the round fell out or if I just completely forgot,
Yeah.
but I just felt so dumb when it clicked and nothing happened.
Well, I bet you just forgot because again, like first day out, you'd kind of been out of that routine. Like it
Right.
wasn't something that you had been doing a lot already. And so I'm sure it was just like totally spaced it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so funny. Just like those circumstances. But again, like it played out. And with as close as we were, like, I mean, I don't know exactly how
I don't
far
even know if
that,
we were 15 yards.
yeah, I was going to say like probably, yeah, within 20. I don't know, like the angle of the
Yeah.
tree stand, like all of that. But uh, still like super close. And so to flip your safety off, you know, press the trigger, have nothing go off, and then chamber around all while the bucks are still right there is like honestly crazy.
Hmm.
So yeah, super, super good time. But I think if I'm remembering right too, the buck, we kind of like tag team walked it out. Cause
Yeah.
I think the doe, you just
I
like,
backpacked it.
yeah, you just like threw it on your shoulders. But I
Yeah.
think the buck, we kind of like collectively walked it out because it was, I mean, it wasn't like huge, but it's still, again, like the body was bigger. It was definitely heavier. We are a little bit
Yeah.
farther away, but yeah, super good time.
No, 100%.
Um, so another thing that I wanted to like talk about with you is kind of like, again, as you got more into hunting, we started going on a little bit bigger trips, doing some elk trips, or, you know, like we would typically have like a bear tag in our pocket, stuff like that. But I think for a while, like we kind of had this collective dynamic, especially when we were both in college, where we would kind of like come back together for something and we would just like instantly get into these arguments and some of these, you know, kind of like sibling fights. And I remember like one time in particular, we were on an elk hunting trip. I remember dad had to go to town for something. Like I can't remember if this was like something happened with the truck or like, yeah, he needed to go get propane or, you know, whatever it might have been. So it was just the two of us. But I remember us just like having a pretty significant like hash out conversation in the trailer of just like what the issue was like between us kind of and like why we couldn't be in the same place without like arguing.
Hmm.
Like, do you have much memory of that?
Um, I don't know. I feel like we've had a couple of those conversations, to be honest. So they all kind of blend together a little bit. I think
Yeah.
part of that is just like growing up. But I think part of the reason we did butt head so much is because we almost like reverted back to like kid siblings instead of like adult siblings.
Right.
And so like that to me was we didn't really know what that dynamic looked like entirely. And
Mm.
so there was a lot of like almost unspoken tension because we like were getting older, but we also didn't know what that friendship and relationship necessarily had to look like
Yeah.
as we got older.
Yep. And yeah, I think to your point, like some of that unspoken stuff was stuff that we had like lived and experienced from like middle school, high school, and on that we just like never addressed. And
Hmm.
so it was some of that stuff that I think just kind of like consistently like built up for us and then would just like ooze out, you know, like we wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
like kind of suppress it in these moments. And we would just like have these kind of like passive aggressive moments back and forth or like the little snarky comments that would kind of get blown out of proportion, and we would react to them in ways that, yeah, didn't quite add up to like what was actually going on in the situation. But I remember on this elk trip, we were just finally able to talk about those things, like kind of like speak the unspoken of, in some ways, like how I viewed you in kind of like our family system and our family dynamic. And then you were able to share like how you viewed me. And I think that was really helpful for me, at least, to just like understand where you were coming from and to recognize like, okay, I have like these like perceptions about you, but you equally have almost like the exact same perceptions about me for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like, I think it'd be helpful to kind of like get into it just so like everybody can kind of like hear what that was like. And again, if you don't remember pieces of it, that's totally fine. We'll see what comes up as I as I share about it. But I remember like for me having this feeling like you never kind of like got in trouble for anything. Like in high school, you weren't always making the best decisions. And
Right.
I remember thinking that like mom and dad just allowed it and kind of like didn't care. And so I had this perception that like you were the favorite because like you could literally like do whatever you wanted and it didn't matter. Like it was always okay. You were kind of like welcome back. You always seemed to get more of the attention, like those types of things. And so I
Mm-hmm.
remember, yeah, finally just like saying that out loud to you for the first time, like in the camper while we're having this like yelling match. Um, but do you remember like what you said to me?
um, did it have to do with like friends?
I think some of it did. Yeah.
Because I feel like that was like maybe more, not necessarily my argument, but I think my understanding behind it was that like, because obviously with us only being like a grade apart, we knew a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
Um, and so with that became like friends with some of the same, I guess, like your friends were kind of my friends, but I almost would say my friends weren't your friends.
Mm,
Like, and so I think for sure when I was making not the smartest decisions in high school,
yeah.
you saw that, and because I had changed friend groups a little bit,
Yeah.
um, and like were trying to call me out on it a little bit and like hold me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that was one of the things was the dynamic was so difficult for me was because you had these really, really, really tight friendships with people.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of my stuff was more surface level. Like I could fit in with a lot of groups, but they weren't very deep
Yeah.
relationships. Um, yeah, I mean, you go again because I don't remember a lot of the details behind it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
No, I definitely remember like that the friends were a part of it
mhm,
because I remember you also had the dynamic where like you felt like there was times where you would bring a friend around and then I would almost like steal them in some ways. Like you felt like I was always like closer with certain friends that you brought around originally. So then
right,
that also created that dynamic where you're like, well, I don't even want to be like around Shane or like bring my friends around because like now I'm just gonna almost like lose a friend if I do that, and that's not
mhm,
worth it. Um, but I do remember there was a piece of the sibling dynamic where again, like I felt like you could do whatever wrong you wanted and not get in trouble. And you were the favorite, and then you almost viewed me as like the golden child that just like never did the wrong. Like you could do no wrong, I just didn't do the wrong. And so
mm,
then I was kind of like, you perceived me to be this like golden favorite child, whereas I perceived you to be the favorite child. So it was, again, kind of like that same, we both had that like same perspective from the other, but almost like in the inverted reason or like the opposite like explanation for how we got there. And
right,
so I remember again that was helpful for me because I was like, okay, I could almost get that. Like I got where you were coming from once you were able to just like finally say it out loud to me. Um, and even like with the friends too. Like I remember you had kind of said, like there was times where like you were the butt of the joke and you didn't appreciate that dynamic either. Where
Right.
again, another one of those times, like, why would I want to be around you when you're like kind of bullying me, and like with our
Hmm.
different friends. And so I think again, that's coming out in these like one-on-one moments that we're having together where you're like, it's like a little bit of like justice and like revenge that you're kind of like playing out with me, but then I'm not perceiving that. And so then, yeah, I'm kind of like perpetuating these like negative cycles in our relationship too, just because I'm like upset with how you're acting. And I feel like I need to enact justice on you for not getting in trouble when you were doing things you shouldn't have, whatever. But
Hmm.
I think for me at least, I look back on that hunting trip and I'm like, okay, that's when I feel like our relationship like really turned a page and like I got some more clarity on like what it looks like for the two of us to actually like be the adult siblings like you had talked about. But again, I think that's in some ways like a conversation that maybe it could have happened in different situations and in a different circumstance. But like when you're on a hunting trip and you're like 24/7, like with
Hmm.
somebody for a few days, like things are going to be addressed or like things are going to kind of like come to a head because you're either going to figure out like, yeah, I can tolerate this person or I can't.
Yeah, I mean, especially in close quarters. I think there was that trip, but then I think the one that sticks out to me, which maybe is the more dynamic of like us being adults, was the bear hunting trip where we tried going to this one spot with the tent
Oh,
trailer,
yeah.
and then we couldn't get up it because there was too much snow, and we had to we had to take it off the hitch and turn it around by hand.
Yep.
And then I don't think it was necessarily that night, but we definitely I think we were screaming at each other a little bit, flipping the tent trailer around because
Yeah.
we weren't able to understand each other in a way that like we weren't communicating healthily.
Yep. But even to this day, anytime I'm like moving furniture with somebody or like parking something, I'm always like, this could go south because like those were like the times that I feel like you and I, again, always had like some big blow up. And so, yeah, double whammy, parking the tent trailer and then having to move it by hand was, yeah, it's bound to be a bad situation for us.
Yeah, yeah, not great.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah,
Outcome was fine, but it was it was
totally.
the getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely again, like I've been appreciative of hunting and just of the outdoors to kind of like facilitate even some of those conversations and to just like deepen our level like of brotherhood in a lot of ways
Yeah.
where I think like without that we easily could have had this constant kind of like resentment and again like maintained the unspoken tension like throughout our adult lives, right? And then like,
Mhm.
yeah, say you move to South Carolina, I moved to Montana, and then we have just like this unspoken tension and resentment. And like, who knows if like we interact that much as adults. But
Yeah. I was just gonna say the exact same thing just because, again, you are more the Montana mountain man, and I'm over here in an up and coming city in Greenville. Like, it's
right.
not like we could not be more different in that aspect of just like a livelihood.
Yeah.
But I think that like again, because of shared experiences, because of those hard conversations that we were forced to have in the outdoors, like there's obviously growth and more connection between that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think again, to me, it like points to like even like that faith component, like something that's deeper than just like a hobby or some like lifestyle preference because I definitely remember times where we were FaceTiming and you're telling me about like city life and going to these different like restaurants and kind of like the latest things that you're doing. And in my mind, I'm like, honestly, all of that sounds horrible to me. Like I wouldn't want that.
Hmm.
But again, like I can have this like love for you as my brother and like appreciation for you and who you are, like how God has like designed you and equipped you with different desires, different passions, different skill sets than I have. And I can look at you and admire that now. Whereas before, I think it was more so just that like almost like prideful arrogance of like, you're not like me. And so like I am going to stiff arm you or whatever, like however that
Yeah,
could
there's this
have,
bitterness built up. Yeah.
right. However that could have played out. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely thankful just for that space and for those conversations. And so, yeah, now I guess to kind of wrap things up here, like towards the end. So with Holy Mountain, like you are the vice president of Holy Mountain. So obviously like playing like a pivotal role just in the board and kind of like on this team that has kind of like helped back me and support me like throughout these past couple years, like as we've like taken some steps forward. So I guess I'm curious, like what have your thoughts of Holy Mountain been like as it has been developing, and like what has your involvement looked like along the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to watch the journey, to be honest. Like from the little acorn idea that it was to kind of
Mm-hmm.
us really like being very intentional with laying foundations. Um, and it's probably not the fastest thing people want to see grow,
Right.
like to be honest, but like me, I think the intentionality and purpose behind what we're doing is very important and we want to get it right.
Yeah.
Um, to not only just like protect ourselves and the nonprofit, but protect the people that we're going to come in contact with.
Yeah.
Um, like that to me is a big driving force in like us taking our time with what is happening, kind of as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think like I mean, really since the beginning, when we kind of got the board together, I think we talked about you kind of really being that outdoors face, and I
Mm-hmm.
was always more okay with being the behind the scenes guy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, my experience with Costco has been more like management, admin stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think I'm very much okay with kind of sitting in the back, letting things kind of play out or orchestrating it a little bit, and just making sure all the ducks are in a row, rather than being the guy out in the front shooting a bow and arrow, you know?
Yep. Totally. Yeah. And I think like for us, obviously, like that's something that we've realized like is needed, right? Like if everybody on the board was like, make me the guy that's out front and the one like doing everything, then that's, kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen. Like there is an
Mhm.
aspect where, yeah, we have to kind of recognize the function of different people. And again, like just the ways that they're actually like gifted and equipped to do different things. I think for me, something that's been cool to see you do and kind of like really enjoy is almost like some of the marketing type side,
Mhm.
but then also like for the different designs, like you have more recently been the one who's kind of like thrown some input out there or like, hey, like this is kind of like a trendy thing, like in the outdoor space, like maybe think about something like along these lines, or what if we did something like this type of a design on this type of a thing. And so again, like not that we're like like uh like strictly like an apparel company. That's always been something that hopefully like we put out merchandise that people think is cool, that helps like represent the organization, but then also kind of like gain some interest of like, oh, that's cool, like what's Holy Mountain, but then
Mhm.
also like, oh, I believe in Holy Mountain, this is like a tangible way that I can support what they're doing. And so again, it's kind of like one of those almost like side hustle things from the organization is our merch. Um, but I think that's been cool to see you like get excited and passionate about like some of the different items and the designs. And then really like for me to recognize like, yeah, that's not my strong suit. That's not my wheelhouse. I'm nothing
Mhm.
close to like a trendy or like fashionable person. And so like you just said, like I am more of like that stereotypical mountain man, like give me like plain earth tone clothes and I'll be fine. But you're like, no, this is actually like a cool thing that we could do, or like people would wear this and whatnot. So I think it's been cool to see you like get excited about that. And then also when we like did our kind of like fundraising campaign thing, like a raffle fundraiser for the Genesis archery kit, it was so cool to see like how many people you were reaching out to, and like you would send the board like, hey, here's like an easy message that I just sent out to a bunch of people. Feel free to like copy and paste it. And like you started taking so much more initiative, I think, in those things, and just getting excited, like recognizing like, oh, this is my wheelhouse right now. This is something that I'm good at. Like, let me like really dive into this.
Yeah. I think that some of that comes from when we went for fundraising for mission trips, but the answer is always no unless we ask or put that opportunity in front of somebody.
Right.
So like, I think that was a big thing for me. I'm like, we have this opportunity to really kind of like jump ahead and where we thought we were going to be with Holy Mountain to get that archery kit, and like
Yeah.
knew what was going to set us like up well for our future. And
Yep.
so I was just trying to get that message in front of as many people as possible and make it as easy as possible for you guys to kind of copy,
Right.
basically. So, and I don't know, I've said this before, like anything can be marketed. It's just how you sell it to somebody. So
Yeah.
I think it's just making sure we have our message clear, which honestly, I think this podcast has helped a ton, keep it really neat and clean.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot easier just to pass this along and say, listen, like I can give you spark notes to this. If you want to know on a deeper level what it is, go watch episode 1, go watch
Yeah.
episode 2, like, and it's very helpful in that regard.
Yeah. And I think again, just like to get people some understanding of like, again, who we are. Like more often than not, people are following a person rather than like a brand or something like that. And so to give people a chance to like hear me talking or hear Becca and I talking and like hear more of our heart as well, I think is going to be like helpful and, like trust building more than just, like some random organization that like says that this is what they do, but like, what do they really care about? Blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
I do think, it's been helpful to just communicate that like to a broader audience, and just like with more time than, like a Facebook or Instagram post kind of allows you to do. So yeah, it has been good. And I think for me, like that's a piece that I've always almost like struggled with. Like I'm pretty bad about marketing myself, and I still feel kind of weird about that. And so that's where like, I don't want Holy Mountain to just be like a me thing. Like this isn't Shane that's being marketed, but hopefully it's like more than that. And I can get behind that also of like, here more so like our mission, vision, values, like those types of things, more so than like, come support my organization. I'm pretty bad about that. But so what does it look like for you kind of in this season of your life to live either like our rest, regain, reconnect motto or the share, shepherd, shoulder values?
I mean, this is throwing it back from like board intros. I think the rest, regain, reconnect. A lot of that is time spent on the golf course, like just kind of, and I haven't been able to do it as much like solo on the course. I think that's when it really started to kind of hit. But it's just something to kind of break apart the day to day. And again, it is an outdoor activity, so that's kind of helpful. But yeah, it's something to kind of break that up. But one of the main things I think, as far as the values go, that I think has really like taken head the last year or two, is just kind of like I said, kind of putting my roots down a little bit more here and kind of building the community around and getting more involved a little bit. I feel like one of my coworkers' families, he has 3 kids, and he's let me really kind of come alongside as like an honorary uncle in a way, and
cool.
just like support them, whether it be volleyball games, basketball games, baseball games. And then the oldest just had a play last night, actually went to.
Nice.
Yeah, it was Moana, and they did phenomenal. It was so impressive.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's just, and I guess supporting those people that you're close to and like you want to invest in,
Mm-hmm.
like has been really rewarding in that way. And um, I mean, yeah, we kind of said that could be just shepherding relationships and things like that, and
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, just kind of building that community that you are close to, but like in a very healthy and like positive way.
Yep.
And so then I think also, obviously out here it makes it a little bit more difficult to, I don't know, support the people we knew in Oregon and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, but like if there are like mission trips or fundraisers or something like that, and even over here, like take it as simple as Girl Scout cookies, like
Mm-hmm.
because my neighbor across the street is in Girl Scouts, and
Nice.
so like just being able to kind of like support that community you have around you, I think is very, very important. And like, um, and just the, I don't want to say putting your face out there, but just like letting them know you're there, you know,
Right.
like you are around, you are someone that can be reliable,
Mm-hmm.
um, is an important thing.
Totally. I think like another cool, you know, like testimony portion where like if you're that neighbor that they know, like, oh yeah, go talk to Ethan. Like Ethan, he always supports us. Like
Hmm.
that is the type of person that I hope like Holy Mountain kind of builds us up to be, where again, we're like making those positive impacts within our communities where, yeah, like we are a dependable face. We're somebody who's willing to come alongside other people. Like no matter like if it's like I bet it's not always rewarding for you to go to like your friends, kids things, right? Like sometimes it's probably like, oh man, like that could have been painful to like watch or experience. Like I know even for me, sometimes I go to like students sporting events. I'm like, woof, that was rough. But like I'm
Hmm.
here for them, not just to like watch a good baseball game or like a basketball game, you know, something like that. So
Hmm.
like again, like knowing that you're there to support the people, not just to be entertained. Like I think that's again one of those like pivotal pieces that like I want us to be embodying through Holy Mountain, where like, yeah, you're sharing your lives with these people. And it's not just like for some purpose where like you're getting something out of them, but it's just like, hey, like I value you, I care about you, and I'm going to show up for you. And that's
Right.
how like you're going to see that this is more than just like some kind of like consumerist relationship, but like this is genuine care.
Right. It supersedes selfishness.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. Well, Ethan, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. I appreciate just everything you do like for us with Holy Mountain, but obviously, yeah, just thankful to have you as a brother and uncle to my kiddos. Just thankful for your role in our lives.
Of course, likewise, you clearly, not clearly, but to me, obviously, play a big role. And even though you're younger, do look up to you in many aspects. So
Yeah, thanks.
very excited for the direction we're going in a lot of things.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man. Love
Yep,
ya.
no problem. Love you too.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening this week. And shout out to my father-in-law, Kevin, because I realized that the last couple podcasts I had not been doing what we originally were calling our nature nuggets, but I think we've since rebranded. We're calling them creation quotes, because whether it's about nature or about us just as people, that's all part of creation. So a creation quote. So this one is actually no author is ascribed to it. So, but this one says, life humbles you. As you grow older, you stop chasing the big things and start valuing the little things. Alone time, enough sleep, a good diet, long walks, and quality time with loved ones. Simplicity becomes the ultimate goal. So I think a good reminder for us, even, you know, as Ethan and I have talked about kind of what it looks like to grow up a little bit, have some of these adult relationships. Like we can begin to overcomplicate those things as we grow up, but at the end of the day, it's kind of returning to that, like to the simplicity of the relationship and to the foundation of some of those relationships as well, of what really matters and kind of what's at the core of them. So a little good creation quote for us to end our time. And then, as always, if you guys shop at all at officialholymountain.com, use the code HMPOD, and you'll get 10% off anything on the website there. So we'd love it if you get some merch, support us in that way. Again, all that money goes back into the nonprofit to just fund what we're hoping to do in the future. And as always, you can set up a donation as well, fully tax deductible on the website too, if you head to our donate page. So thanks for listening and thanks for the support. We're grateful to have you guys as part of our community. So I encourage you to go live the values this week. Bye.